What's up, folks? I'm Private Hudson, and this is Dungeons of Sundaria, or as I'd like to call it, Dung-eons of Suckdaria. I've had this game on my wish list for some time. It's advertised as a dungeon crawling RPG, which is one of my favorite genres. I picked it up during the recent Steam summer sale for, I think it was $5 or $4.80 or something like that. And right after the sale ended, they put the game on sale again for $3.74. Now, I know it's not that big of a difference, but most developers that are continuing their sale have not lowered the price. It's a scumbag move, in my opinion, and it makes me feel that the game has been abandoned and that they're just trying to milk as much money from it as possible. As you can probably tell, this game is not what I expected. The trailer and screenshots conveniently hide the UI, making it look like an actual action RPG. But the simplest way to describe Dungeons of Sundaria is to imagine a single-player MMO with no story and where the only content is farming dungeons. What little text exists is in English. An 8-year-old could have proofread the script and fixed these errors. As for the combat, it's your prehistoric MMO RPG affair, where you simply spam hotkeys. A genre I've always hated and a combat system I've always hated. After 18 hours of playing as a ranger, I have no idea what some of my skills do. I know I have a healing spell, but as for my attacks, I just face tank enemies and spam the 1 through 9 keys. Speaking of face tanking, if you enjoy having troll testicles in your face, then this game might be for you. Combat feels atrocious. There's no sense of impact or skill involved. Attacks lock on, so dodging isn't necessary in most cases. There's no skill tree. Leveling up increases your health and unlocks a new skill for you automatically. And then, once you gain enough levels, you can visit the guild hall, speak to a representative of your class, and purchase higher levels of your skills. The town consists of maybe 5 people, and the only ones worth seeing are the blacksmith and your class rep in the guild hall. Inventory space seems unlimited, but the way the drops work is garbage. Kill an enemy, wait for their corpse to change colors, and then you can loot them. You automatically pick up whatever they have. There is no sort of drag and drop or leave stuff on the floor kind of system. The bottom left of the screen shows what you've picked up, and there's never any kind of fanfare of whether you've got a junk item or like a legendary item or a set item. None of that. Gear sucks in general and is split between melee, ranged, and spell, depending on your class, of course. Since I'm a ranger, anything that doesn't have ranged gets sold to the blacksmith, who's a greedy prick and barely gives you any money, or I just char seed it. The crafting system is purely RNG based. Each dungeon drops a specific essence unique to that dungeon. With that essence, you can buy recipes from the blacksmith and try your luck in crafting. Salvaging common gear gives you common fragments, uncommon gives you uncommon, you get the point. I tried crafting an epic item using the most amount of epic fragments possible, and I got a turd. The additional attributes you get are minor. Maybe it's like +3 to armor penetration or +2 duration to a poison skill. None of these are interesting. None of these are game-changing. In fact, I don't even look at the substats of anything anymore. If a weapon has more damage, or if an equipment has more ranged power than what I'm currently using, I equip it. Simple as that. There are 8 dungeons, and they need to be played in order. After that, you can replay them on a higher difficulty for supposedly better loot. Conveniently, each dungeon is like 2 to 3 hours long, which is past Steam's refund policy for 2 hours. So once you finally finish the first dungeon, well, too bad, you can't refund the game. I tried. Now, unless a game has a bug that prevents me from finishing it, I try to complete every game I review. And I can't with this one. The dungeons are so big, they're so long, yet all you get for navigation is a crappy tiny minimap on the top right corner of the screen, which can't be expanded. The combat is floaty, requires no skill. It feels like I'm playing Anarchy Online from 20 years ago. And the first dungeon is the worst. It's like this crypt, and every single area looks the same. You don't know which way you came through. You don't know which way to go. It takes forever to get through. Dying has no penalty as you respawn at your most recent checkpoint. You keep all your items and gold. And while there is no scroll of town portal, if you hit escape, you can go back to town. When you re-enter the dungeon, you'll have the option of loading back at your last checkpoint. Although all enemies, other than bosses you've killed, respawn as well. Great. By the way, due to the multiplayer component, there is no pause functionality, even if you're just strictly playing single player. Now, maybe this game is more fun in multiplayer, but the population is non-existent, unless you and your buddy buy a copy of this game. Local co-op is available, but it's not great. I tried it briefly, and it took forever to make a character, as having the screen isn't the best idea during character creation. And also the character magically deleted itself after I exited the game. So I'm not sure if it's just a temporary thing or what. Now, if you're playing single player, from what I read, Cleric is OP while the Mage sucks. And as a Ranger, all I do is shoot at enemies before I'm in their cone of vision. Most mobs are dead before they reach me. That's not really fun gameplay. Sure, you can blame me for picking this class. But I'm not going to make a new character and spend an additional 3 hours slogging through the first torturous dungeon. Now, aside from the spelling and grammar mistakes, the game's also buggy. Take a look at this boss fight where the boss glitched through a door and became invincible to damage. Then there's the broken physics system of enemy corpses just fly around the map as you kill them. I thought this game was out of early access by now. As for some positives, I'll try to list some. I do like the art style. I like how my character looks. I like how some of the enemies are designed. Obviously, the graphics are lo-fi with low quality textures, but the art style is nice. There is some nice looking scenery, particularly in the second dungeon when you're outside surrounded by 4 keeps that are all locked. But my appreciation quickly faded when I spent the next hour trying to figure out what to do, how to enter them, where to go, etc. A quest marker would be helpful. I ended up having to do the third dungeon twice. Why? Because an NPC didn't spawn. It was a long dungeon, and it was kind of impressive looking because you had to kill 4 bosses in 4 different keeps. And each one had its own unique biome with its own unique enemies, and they're all kind of protecting this force field to a castle. So you take all of them down, the force field is down, then you enter the castle and you fight this crazy centaur. Now, even though I finished the dungeon, because the NPC didn't spawn and I didn't talk to her, the progress didn't matter. I basically had to redo the dungeon again. And this time, on the second time, she finally spawned. And because I cleared the dungeon, there was no checkpoint to load into. I had to redo the whole thing from scratch. Amazing. But guess what happened in the 4th dungeon? I had to do it twice again, because guess what? The NPC didn't spawn again. It reminds me of an old George Bush saying. There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again." But what happened in the 6th dungeon, you may ask? I glitched through half of it. It takes place in some sort of hellscape, and you just keep going down and down and down and down and down. So enemies kept knocking me off ledges, but if you do a roll mid-air, you don't take fall damage. So I probably skipped half the content in that one. And you know what happened in the 7th dungeon? I killed a boss enemy, but it didn't register that I killed him. Also, this dungeon runs like absolute shit. And none of this stuff is new. Here's a screenshot of someone posting this on January 2nd, where quest NPCs are not showing up. Here's a post from 14 hours ago, at least at the time of this recording, where This guy ran into the same exact bug as I did, where he killed the 3 dudes, but one of them showed up as 0 out of 1. Now I tried to rerun the dungeon, but the gate to this place didn't open. And I tried to glitch through it and I couldn't, and at that point I called it quits. This was the second to last dungeon. I'm not fucking playing through this shit again. Let's go a little further back to December 31st, 2023, when we have multiple reports of NPCs missing. About, more than 7 months ago. I mean, here's how the game can be fixed. Add pause for single player. Rebalance all the classes so all of them are viable for solo play. Add a option to view a full-size map instead of a quarter-sized one in the top right corner of the screen. Have quest markers. Have someone who speaks English rewrite the script and at least add some semblance of a plot, no matter how generic it is. Your own introduction has a typo, and the text in your compendium cuts off instead of continuing to the next line. That is very amateurish. Have enemies show XP numbers when you kill them, and damage numbers too for when you shoot them. Rework the dungeons. They don't need to be this long, because I swear it took me maybe 3 days to slog through the first dungeon because I couldn't play the game for more than an hour at a time. I was losing it. And when I took a break and I came back to the game, I had no idea where I came from, and I had no idea where I was supposed to go. Improve the loot, make it more interesting instead of bigger number equals bigger damage. Oh, and for the love of God, make a separate volume slider for enemies. None of the volume sliders, master, sound effects, music, none of them affect the awful voice acting and the constant fucking death screams.
No, I was promised eternal life.
A flame extinguished
Death
too
comes.
soon. A flame extinguished too soon.
Leslie, can we fix the bugs with the NPCs? Will any of that happen? Probably fucking not. You know what? Fuck this game and fuck the developers for releasing this pile of shit. This game was in early access in 2022. Version 1 was released in December 2023. So it's been over 2 years since, it originally launched in early access, and it's been, over 7 months since the game's been done. You call this a fucking finished product? Fuck you, seriously. Did anyone playtest this? You've seen the reports on the forums from the fucking December. What have you done to fix it? How can you fucking sell this as a product? Have you no shame? Have you no fucking common decency? Have you no respect for your fan base or for other developers, for your own fucking career? I'd rather go play that fucking porno game, She Will Punish Them, instead of this fucking piece of shit. And you know what? That abandoned porno game is better than this piece of shit. Alright. I'm Private Hudson. I am beyond pissed off with the bullshit that I have experienced with this game. And I'm signing out. I'll see you all hopefully with a better game shortly. Thanks for watching.